You must be curious as to my actions, as to why I did nothing for 4 months and took action so suddenly. I think my intention can be best explained in the story that I'm going to tell you. I have a friend who bought a house with a garden in the rear that had many weeds in it. He moved in, cleared all the weeds, and planted his own flowers and vegetables and whatnot. And one day, the old owner of the house came by and asked him, "Where are the plum blossoms?" And my friend said, "What plum blossoms?" "Oh, the plum blossoms that were rare and expensive. They had to be imported from China." And my friend didn't realize that. He threw them out when he cleared the weeds. But shortly after that, he bought another house. He was a rich guy. Bought another house. It also had a garden in the rear with a lot of weeds. But this time he didn't do anything. He learned from his first time. And he just kind of watched the weeds a little bit. It was wintertime. When spring came around, some of those weeds blossomed into the most beautiful flowers he'd ever seen. He was like, "Wow, I didn't know that some of these weeds were flowers." And there were some other weeds remaining. He was hesitant to do anything, so he didn't do anything. He just kind of sat there and watched the weeds some more. Summer rolls along. Some of those other weeds grew these bulbs with fuzzy hair all over it, very soft and fuzzy. And they were the most exquisite colors of lavender and turquoise, yellow. These wonderful bulbs. He was amazed. He didn't know that those other weeds were actually these plants with wonderful bulbs. There were some more weeds left over, and he still, he just decided to wait. So fall comes around, and some of those weeds, the leaves on those weeds, turned into the most sublime shades of red and orange and gold that he had ever seen. He was just breathtaken with the colors. And when winter finally came around, that's when he knew which of those weeds were really weeds, and he finally pulled them. So my fellow colleagues, if this company were a garden, you guys sitting here at this dinner would be those flowers and the bulbs and the leaves. Because nobody shows off their value all the time. It's only with patient observation can we recognize which of those weeds are not weeds. So, my fellow Toastmasters, this is why we should slow down and observe before we have the impulse to rush and do something and take action, and before we even see clearly what we're dealing with. And the final story is about judging too quickly. Final story is about a Vietnam War veteran who survived the Vietnam War, came back, made a stop at the military base in San Francisco before heading on home to New York to his parents. He made a phone call to his dad because he was kind of nervous about coming home. His dad picks up, he says, "Dad, I'm back from the war, I'm okay. I have a request. I want to bring a friend back with me to New York." And his dad says, "Oh, yeah, son, great to hear from you. I'm glad you're alive. Come back, we miss you so much. Yeah, we'd love to accommodate your friend." And then he says, "Dad, but there's one thing I should tell you about my friend. He suffered some heavy injuries in the war. He lost an arm and a leg, and he has no place to go. I want to take him in with us, help him get a fresh start in life." And upon hearing that, his dad objected. "Son, I mean, we'd love to help your friend find another place, but we can't have him live with us. It'd be too much of a burden. I mean, we have our own lives to live. You have your life to live. How can we take on this additional person? There's not enough space. Son, why don't you just come home and forget about this for a second? I'm sure the Army has some sort of arrangement for this guy, Okay?" And upon hearing this, his son just hung up. Just hung up. And a week later, the police department from San Francisco telephoned his parents and told them that his son was found dead on the streets. Apparently he had jumped off a building and committed suicide. And they asked them to come over to claim the body. And upon seeing the body of their son, the parents saw that it was missing an arm and a leg. So the son was trying to test their parents to see how they would accept him in his new condition. And apparently his parents rushed to conclusions and led to something fatal. So my fellow Toastmasters, if you can remember the bloody dog that got killed, the young boy with the push pins in the fence, the weeds in the garden that really aren't weeds, and why the boy with one arm and one leg jumped off the building. If you can remember these four things, I guarantee you there will be nothing else you will regret going forward in life. Mr. Tabletopics.
Fourth speech out of the advanced manual, the storytelling manual, and he described to us 4 stories that he put together. First, he started off with telling us what he wanted to say, and really he gave us a little quick snippet of what he was going to do. Then he went into his 4 stories, and then told us his conclusion, meshing everything, putting everything together, and he did that pretty well. So he went through the 4 stories. The story about the dog and jumping into the wrong conclusions because of something that you've seen, and certain things that you just really don't really think of, and you just kind of just jump to a conclusion, and that's it, and you just have this reaction, and you feel bad at the end of the whole thing, especially when you make a mistake doing it. The next one was about a child having tantrums, and really just if it was anger leaves a mark on everything you touch with your anger, so be aware of how you present yourself to other people, just because, even though it was a child, just be aware of your anger so that it doesn't leave people feeling bad in its wake. The third one is about controlling your impulses, and about weeding, just kind of seeing what something is before you actually pull the trigger. Maybe that's what I'm trying to get at. It's really wait and see the value of something before you actually act on it. And lastly, it was about the Vietnam vet, and how he committed suicide because he believed his parents wouldn't love him as much as they did before because of his disability, and also the parents again jumped to conclusions, and thereby making a regrettable mistake. And the only thing I want to say is you might have cut out one story. I'm not sure which one you would have wanted to cut out of, but for the sake of time, you could have made 3 stories, and 3 is a good number in general. So I guess that's really my main. Edwin, as usual, did a really great job. There are a couple things that I am supposed to speak about, but Edwin really did a good job about pulling out emotions out of all of us. We didn't know what he was getting at until maybe towards the end when he hit us with the conclusion of at least the mini conclusion of the story. So he put us through the myriad of emotions: anger, guilt, regret, things such like that. And then again, he just came up towards the end. He just did he did the conclusion. He brought everything together, and he did a really good job. And that's really what I want to say right now. So thank you very much, Ms. Toastmaster.